Coach Greg, and I am here today to talk to you about YK-11. Okay? Before I get into that, I am nobody's doctor. I'm not a doctor at all. I'm not allowed to give you any kind of doctoral information. So when you watch the video, just assume that I know nothing about anything and that it's purely for your own entertainment. Do not take YK-11 because it's not for human consumption. So, by the end of the video, you should know all about YK-11 and you should understand why I have never taken it before, even myself. So basically, I'm only going to give you what I've heard from, a lot of people that I coach, and I know a bunch of people that have used it and the results. So let's get right into it. YK-11, is it a SARM? Is it a steroid? What is it? It's basically kind of like a SARM, kind of like a steroid, but it's also a myostatin inhibitor. So you're like, what does that even mean? Well, a myostatin inhibitor, it basically prevents you from producing as much myostatin. And myostatin is something that's known to prevent muscles from growing to be too big. You may have seen these pictures of mice and rats or whatever, and they're like jacked up mice, and it's like crazy. You're like, what the hell? And they don't have myostatin, and so their bodies just keep growing forever. Now, you see these huge, freaky professional bodybuilders that are like 300 pounds of muscle, and you're like, how are they so big? And you just think, oh, it's just steroids. They just take more steroids. Well, it's not like that. They have genetics. Genetics determine how big you can actually get in the end, and steroids put you over the edge. Now, some people are born with more or less myostatin, and if you're born with less or more, it makes a big difference on how much muscle you grow in the end, okay? So people with a hardly any, well, maybe they can just grow bigger because they were born with hardly any at birth. So maybe they have more muscle cells. It's really not known 100%. This is kind of one... This is one of the reasons I don't want to take it, is because there's not enough research. There's no research on humans, let alone animals. So it's not well studied at all. It's like the studies that are out there are minimal and they don't really get into anything. So it's not been proven to be safe. So it's really one of these research chemicals that I don't suggest you take. All right, so what does it do if you do take it? I don't think you should take it, but what happens if you do? All right, so are you going to bloat up and get all watery and puffy like Debo? No, it's going to have no estrogenic side effects, so you shouldn't be experiencing gyno. You shouldn't be gaining a lot of weight and packing a lot of massive amounts of pounds in a month, for example. Well, guess what? Some people have taken YK-11 and they told me, I gained 10 pounds in a month. This stuff is awesome. It's amazing. Holy shit. And I'm like thinking, well, it might not even be YK-11 that they took. So people are all saying what they are experiencing, but are they really taking what they're supposed to? This is highly counterfeited. So there's a good chance that what you're using isn't in fact YK-11. So let's say you were taking D-ball and you thought it was YK-11. Well, you might get gyno and water retention and bloating and all this stuff, and you're like, oh, it does all this stuff. But really, it didn't. It's the fake thing that you're taking that did. So you have to be careful. And so I get comments from some people using it that they gained a lot of mass and got huge from it. I'm thinking, yeah, well, that's fake because it doesn't do that. It's not supposed to do that. It'd be like somebody saying, oh, I took Winnie and it made me huge. It's like, Winnie doesn't make you huge, so you're probably not taking Winnie. Maybe it's something else. What about the androgenic effects? Are there any? Yes, it's in fact very much androgenic, which means it's not highly safe for females. It means that it could, I guess, cause virilization, or it gives you more aggression. You go to the gym and you'd have more energy to train hard. That's not the muscle building part. This is androgenic, is like the aggressiveness of it, okay? Like testosterone has androgenic effects. It also has anabolic muscle building effects. So this one has both as well. Anabolic, yes, it's going to build muscle. Not massive amounts of muscle, just more like quality, hard, lean, dry gains. So your muscles should look full and hard and not watery and soft like D-ball or Anadrol would do. So it's more of a small amount of muscle, so you should gain, say it's 5 pounds of muscle, not 10 to 15 pounds from this. What about balding? Yes, you can lose your hair from it. It's one of these things, almost all of them can, especially in higher doses. So if you're concerned with your hair, just don't take any steroids or SARMs or anything really at all, and then be safe. Does it shut down your body's natural production of testosterone? The answer is yes, it most certainly does. And the higher the dose, the more it does this. Very much dose dependent. I've seen on some sites saying, oh, it doesn't do it much. It's a little more like a SARM. Bullshit. It shuts you down. It's going to shut you down. Now, the funny thing is, well, what does that mean? You have less tests. Well, a lot of people, when they get shut down, they have less sex drive. So I've had people report to me, yeah, I've been using YK-11. Oh, I'm like curious. Well, tell me about it. Well, my sex drive went through the roof. Okay, somebody else. Man, it killed my sex drive. So I'm getting like back and forth comments of the opposite. So I'm getting some comments saying they gained a ton of weight and it was awesome. And I'm getting some comments that they hardly noticed it and it didn't do much. So it's one of these SARMs / steroid type things that I just think you shouldn't take. It really is like hit or miss. There's other things you can take that are better, that are safer, that have more clinical trials. Why pick something that we don't know is safe or not when there's other things that are proven to be more safe that have the same, if not better results? Seems to make sense to me. What about your liver? It's not supposed to be very liver damaging. However, I have seen people get blood work from taking YK-11 only, and their liver enzymes like AST, ASL come back well over 100. And so to say it doesn't do anything, some it doesn't, some it does. Every single steroid is like this. So this is no different. Anavar is really safe on your liver. However, I've seen a few people just taking pharmaceutical Anavar from their doctor prescription, and that's it, have excessively high elevated testosterone, liver enzymes. So I can't just say, oh, it's good or not. It depends. Everyone's body's different, and how you basically process the drugs you're taking can be affected differently based on your individuality, okay? So be careful. Get your blood work done. See your doctor. Make sure that if you are taking these risky drugs, that you're at least checking out your health to see how your body's tolerating it. Because if you go to the doctor and you take these things and the results come back and it's like, it's bad, well, then at least you know you can stop. The stupidest thing that I get pissed off is people who get blood work, they go get their blood work and it comes back bad, and they don't even stop. I'm like, why did you get blood work in the first place if you were going to ignore it anyway? Screw the blood work. If you're just going to get blood work and the blood work comes back and you're going to die and you still do it, why did you go in the first place? Save yourself some money and just take it anyway and don't care. But, you shouldn't. If you get blood work that's bad, do something about it and make the change. Kidneys. Yes, I've seen people's blood work come back from taking this and their kidneys were not as good as they should be, and so they should stop. Some do, some don't. What about how it makes you feel? I can't say because I haven't taken it. I only know what some people have said, and I've heard good and bad. I've heard people say they loved it and the pumps were crazy and it felt so good and they were loving it, and I've heard people say it made them feel like shit and they didn't like it, and I don't know which ones were taking real YK and which ones are taking fake. So unfortunately, the data is not enough. It's not out there enough, and there's not enough people taking it, reporting it, and there's not enough studies to really confirm or deny if it's good. What kind of goals would you have to take this? Anyone that's looking to gain muscle is going to take this. It's one of the things. It's to build muscle. It's not to burn fat. I've heard that one before. Oh, it's to burn fat. No, you're trying to build muscle. And why are people usually taking this? They're usually taking this to go past their genetic limit because they're looking for that myostatin change, okay? So what happens is it's signaling the body to produce more follistatin. The more follistatin you have sends a signal to decrease the myostatin, and then you're going to have basically less stoppage of muscle growth. So that's what it's trying to do. All right, let's get into the dosages that people are usually taking. So for girls, if I was to just take this and I was a girl and I just needed to, I would be taking 5 milligrams of this a day. And I would do it in a divided dose because the half-life is, although unknown, I believe it to be approximately 8 hours. That means you have to dose it more than once a day. And when in doubt, which I'm in doubt because I don't really know what the half-life is, spread it out. When in doubt, spread it out. If you don't know, it's better to split up the dose because when you take too much of something all at once, it's not good. It would be like eating one meal a day and you eat all your calories at once. There's more chance that something bad could happen at that one time. Or think if you're getting drunk. If you drank the whole pint all at once, it's more dangerous than if you spread it out every few hours. You had a beer every few hours, whatever. Okay? So when in doubt, spread it out. Split the dose in half. For men, 10 milligrams, so that means 5 milligrams twice a day. Now, in the real world, what's actually happening? Girls are taking 20 milligrams. Guys are taking 40 milligrams. I've heard it. They're telling me they're doing it, and I believe them. And they're getting pretty big results from it. Is it safe? No. Now, what is the worst reported side effect from this that I've seen? The worst, and this is the main reason I don't take it, because it's not like I'm Mr. Health. It's not like I haven't done steroids or SARMs. The reason I refuse to take this is because it is not, or it's not good for your joints. It's not good for your tendons. It's not good for, basically, it's dangerous. It's risky that you're going to get injured, okay? I do not want to tear a pec. I don't want to tear a bicep, especially where I train hard, and I don't really train heavy, but I train pretty hard with, forcing myself. It's not like I'm using like pussy weights and just doing there's a risk that I'm going to get injured, and I don't want that risk to go up. And this has been shown to cause joint pain. So a lot of people are talking about how much it hurts your joints, like say it's their elbows, knees, whatever. And if you compound that with you're a bodybuilder, powerlifter, and you're training hard, and you're pushing yourself, the chance of rupturing a tendon are higher. It's already bad enough. And when you tear a pec, it's bad. It's a long recovery. So I don't want that risk. It is not something I will ever take. And the higher the dose, the more that's going to happen. The suppressiveness of it, if you're on SARMs because you think they're safer than steroids, well, you're just fooling yourself, really. SARMs aren't safer than steroids. You think taking YK-11 is safer, buying it on the internet, don't know what's really in it, don't know what it is, it's not been studied on people or even animals, really, is more safe than me getting testosterone from a doctor who prescribes it to me, who says I need it for my health, and it says it's this and this and this. Are you serious? You really think testosterone, which your body produces and makes and needs, is more dangerous to take testosterone than to take YK-11 or another SARM? Come on. No. Stop fooling yourself. You just want to pretend that you're natural, blah, blah, blah. Mostly people, I think, that are taking it, they don't want to break the law, and you can legally buy this, even though it's a loophole. It's not illegal to buy, but in some countries you can't buy testosterone. You don't have the doctor, you can't afford it, whatever. So that is why I think people are really doing it. So the positive results, though, it's not all negative. More pump, more strength in the gym, more fullness to the muscle, and dry gains, not a watery type of mess gain. So yeah, it's gonna make you change the way you look in your physique. But why take YK-11? There's things like Ostarine that are studied more, Rad 140 studied more, LGD 4033 studied more. There's other SARMs in the actual SARMs world that have more studies and do work. Now, some of them are suppressive, but so is this. Some of them are bad on your liver, but so is this. So they all have negative consequences. And you know what's crazy? Like, I had a guy write me today, and he's like, yeah, I drink every day. Like, he's basically an alcoholic, drinks all the time, and he was asking what cycle he could do. And I'm like, well, just make sure you don't do any orals. So just do injectables, just to be safer, right? Because you don't want to put any more tax on your liver. He's like, yeah, well, I don't plan on doing a cycle of steroids because that's bad for you. I'm going to do SARMs. And I'm like, so he's like, I'm like, yeah, but SARMs orally, and he basically says, Yeah, but they're SARMs, oral, so that doesn't affect my liver. And I'm like, this is what literally people think. They think that SARMs are just 100% safe. This guy's drinking like a fish every day, getting drunk and what have you, and thinks you can just throw in SARMs and it won't affect you because it's SARMs. Oh, I'm not doing Anavar because that's a steroid. That's so dangerous. I'm going to just do a bunch of SARMs. And they're not doing them in small doses, and most people using SARMs are stacking them, and they're doing them in higher doses than I would take. That's just the reality of what's happening. Yeah, the one more thing, it's going to allow you to train harder and heavier in the gym and have more energy, get you through those workouts. You know, that's the androgenic part of it, so it's going to help you in that way. My personal experience with it, clearly I haven't got any, and I refuse to have any, and I don't ever get clients to use this. I've never suggested to anyone to use it. So the only people that I've talked to that have used it have done so without me being part of it. So they've just told me what they've used, said the doses, and reported the results, and so I just shared that with you. If I had to compare it to another steroid, just to give you an idea of what kind of expected results, I would compare it to Winstrol. That would be the main one that I would compare it to. I think you should expect similar gains to using Winnie. And trust me, people aren't using YK to get minimal gains. People aren't using SARMs to get minimal gains. Well, some are, but they're not using YK. They might be using Austrian to get baby type gains. But when you start jumping from being natural to not natural, you're doing so because you want a big change. And they are going to make a big change. But you're not going to expect a big change in a low dose. So people are abusing them. They're using abusive dosages, high dosages, and getting the same, if not worse, side effects than actual steroids. So people are using SARMs and getting excessively high elevated liver enzymes. So I've noticed lately a lot of people reporting like blood work that's just bad. Worse than me, who's taken Halo, Anavar, full on. Just watch one of my old cycles. My worst cycle, I've seen people get worse blood work from just SARMs than my worst cycle ever, and people are writing and saying you're going to kill yourself and you're crazy and oh my god. And meanwhile, half the people I know are doing half that cycle or more than I'm doing. A lot of people are doing crazy cycles and they just don't care about their health. And SARMs are not safe, so don't take them. I don't suggest you take them. You know, I'm not here to say or promote SARM use. I'm just saying this is the information, and take it and do what you will with it. And just before I conclude, I want to talk about like studies. Scientific studies aren't all like legit. A lot of them are bullshit. And this is why, okay? A lot of the studies that get published are published because they had freaky results. And freaky results get published. And so you take note of, if there's 1,000 studies, say, done on something, and one has freaky results and it gets shared, then people are going to be like, hey, well, this study said it did this. It doesn't necessarily mean it does that. It could have been a fluke in that one study out of 1,000. So don't just say, oh, I read this study and it means that. And in this case, YK-11, let's say it comes out and it decreases myostatin. And then you're like, well, myostatin is stops muscles from growing, and so we decrease myostatin, so muscles are going to grow. You can't necessarily just say that prove cause and effect. Maybe myostatin at birth or before you're even born in lower levels will affect you because then you have more muscle cells. But maybe at 35 years of age and then you lower myostatin, maybe that has no effect on muscle growth at that time. So you can't just say, oh, if it does this and does what it's saying, then boom, you're going to grow into Superman. Because basically people are thinking, well, if we stop this genetic stoppage of growing muscles as big as you can, then you'll become Mr. Olympia. And it's not the case. Like, maybe I'm 43 and I'm too old, and if I take YK-11 and myostatin goes down, am I going to put on 50 pounds of muscle now because my myostatin is shut off? Maybe it'll have Zeeeero effect. We don't know. We don't know. So don't just look at a study, see that one study with 5 people in it, and it had this amazing result, and then just assume that it applies to real world setting. Doesn't necessarily mean that. So if you want to see other videos, blooped up current video, just watch this one, my last video. And if you want to see an older video down here, that's cool too. And GregDoucette.com for coaching. Instagram, follow me, Greg Doucette, IFBB Pro. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell button. Until next time, I am out.